Thank you, Mr. Chair. Secretary Hale, you know, I've sat through so many of these meetings regarding the effects of sequestration, whether it's in this full committee or it's in the readiness subcommittee. I even sat in on CPAR, which I'm not a member of because I represent Hawaii, and you can imagine how important these issues are to us. Today's hearing was called the Department of Defense Plans for Sequestration, the Sequestration Transparency Act of 2012 report and the way forward. That's the title. And the one thing I have got to say is that in all the prior hearings and testimonies that we've had, including Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Greenert, as well as Army Secretary John McHugh, the theme seems to be the same. It's whether someone above them has said not to really plan for sequestration, or the Office of Management Budget has said just plan your budget for the upcoming year without any consideration of sequestration. Would that be a correct statement as to how how the Defense Department has been proceeding on this specific issue?
Well, we are certainly planning our fiscal 14 budget without regard to sequestration, and that's consistent with the guidance we have gotten, fiscal guidance from the Office of Management and Budget. We made a decision not to plan in detail for sequestration, again in the continued hopes that there will be an agreement between the administration and the Congress to halt it. I think as we get closer to this event, we will have to move toward guidance to the service and specific planning, and if it does go into effect, I can assure you we will be ready to implement it, and we will move toward the planning that's required to do that.
Can you tell me how long you think it's going to take to get to that point? Because some of these testimonies we got from February of this year, the chairman has always expressed his great concern about sequestration, which all of us share. So I'm just curious. I mean, you knew that sequestration was going to be an across-the-board cut. So the report that was done by OMB is a 9.4, literally across-the-board cut. So how long will it take you to then drill down from all these different program IDs, which have the 9.4 across-the-board cut? How long will it take you? I just kind of want to know when Chairman is going to call us back in and we're going to hear the actual plans.
Well, the first thing we'll have to do is come up with guidance, as we would do in a regular budget, to the services. That probably will take place over the next month or so. I would say 6 weeks or so after that guidance is done to come up with detailed plans.
So probably a 2-month period, and then we'll be able to know how each one of these different programs.
We will wait as long as we can to begin this process. You know, I feel like I spend most of my time these days planning for things I fervently hope don't happen. And I think we'll wait as long as we can to begin this process again in hopes that it is halted. But we won't wait so long that we won't have this department ready if, in fact, it goes into effect on January 2nd.
Now, one of the statements made by OMB in their report is this. It says, with the single exception of military personnel accounts, the administration cannot choose which programs to exempt or what percentage cuts to apply. These matters are dictated by a detailed statutory scheme. So just so anyone listening in on us, when you say you're going to start to study how the cuts are going to take place, you're talking about the 9.4% within each program ID.
That's correct.
Is that correct? So would you say that as frustrating as it may be for us to try and figure out what's going to happen, so when we get home and people ask us how it's going to be cut, from your vantage point, it's really up to Congress and the President to make everything right?
Well, we're depending on Congress and the President or the administration to halt this. We certainly hope that's true. But as I said before, if it happens on January 2nd, we will take the steps that are needed to make this department ready, and OMB has said they will do that across the federal government.
And Mr. Hill, many of the testimonies that we've had all say that Defense Department has taken its share of cuts already in the first part of the Budget Control Act. And I believe that Secretary Panetta said that if we got to take an additional series of cuts, throw everything out the window. Would you agree with that?
Well, I don't know if he said it quite that way, but if we take substantial additional cuts, whether it's sequestration or in some other way, we will have to reconsider the security strategy that's put in place. And I know I can speak for the Secretary Panetta in saying he believes that strategy is the right one for current times.
When you say the strategy, you're talking about the 2014 budget
The strategy that was put in place last January and is the basis for the fiscal 13 budget, he believes is the right strategy, and he would like to continue it. But if there are significant additional budget cuts, we will have to revisit that strategy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.